Hello, everyone. We're going to get started now. Welcome to our annual Veterans Day celebration at Marist. I am Amy Woods, a graduate of the class of 1997 and Executive Director of Alumni Relations. On behalf of the Offices of College Advancement and Student Affairs, we thank you for taking time out of your day to spend with us. We are extremely disappointed that we could not gather in person this year, but could not let the opportunity pass to recognize all of our veterans in active military. If you encounter any audio issues during today's presentation, you do have the option to dial in by telephone. We will provide that number in the chat box. Also, we have members of our information technology team on hand in a WebEx help room, and we will provide that information in the chat box as well. Due to the number of participants joining us today, we have muted all lines except for the speakers. Please use the chat box if you have any technical questions for the Marist staff who are listening in. Please do not send private messages to the guest speakers as they may not see them. There are several ways you can view this presentation on your screen. If you are using a desktop or laptop computer, hover over the top right corner of the video portion of your screen with your mouse, and small icons should appear. The preferred choice for a presentation like this that does not include slides is active speaker view. There will be a brief survey on your screen at the conclusion of the presentation with a few questions. It should pop up as a new tab. If you have a minute, it would be extremely helpful for us to hear your feedback. There are some online participants joining us today that I would like to recognize. From our Board of Trustees, we have John O'Shea, Betty Wolf, and Jim Barnes from the class of 1968. We also have some members of the Alumni Association Executive Board with us today. Eileen Altabelli from the class of 82, President of the Alumni Association. Paul Rinn from the class of 1968, past President of the Alumni Association. And I'd also like to welcome Marilyn Murray and thank her for joining us today. And now I'd like to welcome President Dennis Murray, who will provide some welcoming remarks. Hi, Dennis.
Thank you, Amy. And let me begin by thanking you, Julian Sharp, and all the other members of our IT team for helping put this very important event today. And welcome to all of you as Marist celebrates Veterans Day. Veterans Day is intended to thank and honor all of those who've served honorably in our military in both wartime and peacetime. It's a day to salute veterans for their service, to acknowledge their contributions to our national security, and to thank those who have sacrificed and literally done their duty. I'd also like to note the great sacrifice of our veterans' families, especially their spouses, parents, partners, and children. They also have our respect and gratitude. The Marist community through the years has always had many faculty, staff, students, alumni, and even board members who have served in the military. And all have served with honor and many with great distinction, including Paul Rinn, the former president of our Alumni Association and the alumni rep to the Board of Trustees, who was a highly decorated captain in the United States Navy. Trustee John O'Shea. John enlisted as an officer in the Navy right after college and rose to the rank of commander. Trustee Jim Barnes served in the United States Marines during Vietnam, where he earned 9 combat decorations as a first lieutenant combat commander. And I'd also like to mention 3 faculty members who've served with great distinction. Colonel Jim Johnson, who's done such a great job with our Hudson River Valley Institute, keeping military history in this region as part of our great history. Tommy Zerhelen for the great work he's done supporting veterans, and Roy Maroli, our former executive vice president, who's contributed so much to Marist and continues to teach. I'm also proud to say that my family has had a close connection to the military. My father served in World War II. I lost an uncle when his fighter aircraft was shot down by the Japanese over the Pacific. I served in the Army, and my son served in the Marines in both Iraq and Afghanistan, along with his good friend and fellow Marist alum, Owen Daly. I always like to note that my service, though, was only in the United States because I believe we owe a special debt of gratitude to the men and women who have served in combat zones around the world. George Washington once gave our nation some good advice. He said, "The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional to how the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated by their nation." And no one has heeded that call more than our own Tommy Zerwellen, who literally walked across America to raise funds and awareness of homelessness and mental health struggles among our veterans. On this Veterans Day and every day, let us keep in mind the great debt that we owe to those who have served our country in the military and in other ways. We thank them for their patriotism, love of country, and willingness to sacrifice for the common good. It is now my pleasure to introduce ROTC Cadet Evan Fernandez, a Marist senior majoring in criminal justice who has also completed his paralegal certificate. Evan is from Isabela, Puerto Rico, and I understand his mom is watching and other members of his family, perhaps grandparents. So we want to welcome all the members of the Fernandez family here with us today. Evan is on track for our 5-year accelerated master's degree in public administration with a concentration in ethical leadership. Apart from ROTC, Evan is the president of both the Criminal Justice Club and the Criminal Justice Honor Society. He's also vice president of safety and security for our Student Government Association. Evan is clearly committed to serving others, which is part of the reason he joined the ROTC. His dad is a federal agent with the Department of Homeland Security, so service runs in the Fernandez family's DNA. After graduation, Evan will begin serving as an officer in the New York State National Guard and eventually plans to pursue a civilian career as a federal agent. It's now my pleasure to perhaps introduce a future military leader, Evan Fernandez, and ask him to introduce today's keynote speaker. Thank you again for being with us. Evan?
Thank you so much, President Murray, for that amazing introduction. And again, it is my absolute pleasure to be here. ROTC loves having representation on the Marist College Veterans Day events. It means so much to us. And beyond that, it is also my great pleasure to introduce Foley. Ferg, as he likes to be called, was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Army after receiving an associate's degree in business management from SUNY Canton. He went on to receive both a Bachelor of Science degree and Master's in Public Administration degree from Marist, followed by a Master's of Science degree from the United States Army War College. Ferg enlisted both in the United States Army, stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina with the Airborne Corps. He served in the New York Army National Guard from 1982 to 2006, during which included many leadership positions, including Chief of Staff for Joint Task Force Operation World Trade Center during 9/11. His last assignment was commander of the New York Guard Defense Force. Ferg has almost 3 decades of service to New York and our nation. His awards include the Legion of Merit with Oak Leaf Cluster, the Meritorious Service Medal with 3 Oak Leaf Clusters, the Army Commendation Medal with 2 Oak Leaf Clusters, the Army Achievement Medal, the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and the National Defense Service Medal and Parachute Badge. He is currently the Senior Property Manager of the Manhattan Judicial Campus for the as a member of the SUNY Canton Alumni Association Board of Directors. Ferg also serves as the chairman of the Dutchess County Veterans Affairs Committee and holds membership in several veteran advocacy groups. Major General Fergal Foley, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Murray and Marist College, for the honor of being part of this important day. And thank you, Evan, for that introduction. It's really good to see such a strong and vibrant ROTC program here at Marist. I also want to thank Marist College for an initiative they took 25 years ago in developing affordable off-site MPA programs for military and first responders. I can tell you that many of us greatly benefited from their program. So even back then, you know, Marist was doing their part to support veterans. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today as we recognize our veterans for their unwavering service to America All across this great country, Americans will pause to honor brave fighting men and women who for over 2 centuries have secured our freedom by their duty, selfless service, and undying patriotism. This day, which began as Armistice Day, was originally set as a U.S. legal holiday to honor the end of World War I, which officially took place on November 11th, 1918. In legislation that was passed in 1938, November 11th was dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be hereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day. This new legal holiday honored World War I veterans. But in 1954, after having been through World War II and the Korean War, the 83rd U.S. Congress, at the urging of veteran service organizations, amended the Act of 1938 by striking out the word armistice and substituting the word veterans. With approval of this legislation, November 11th became a day to honor American veterans of all wars. So today, we honor all our veterans who unselfishly placed their lives on the line for our freedom. Those men and women were ordinary people until they heard the call of duty and answered it. They left their families, their homes, and their lives, not for the recognition or fame or even the honor we bestow upon them today. They fought to protect our country, to maintain our way of life. As we honor our veterans and remember their great deeds, let us also salute those that are currently serving. The freedom we enjoy can never be taken for granted. It is precious and sacred, and that is why we must defend it. Thomas Paine said, "Those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must undergo the fatigue of supporting it." Many of you here today have borne that burden and experienced the fatigue of waging war in order to bring about peace. To you, I say thank you. Thank you for setting the example that inspired me and my peers to raise our hands in voluntary service to this great nation. That shared service joins us together like no other bond. The camaraderie we share in military service helps define us. And yet this day, Veterans Day, serves a very important purpose. It is the day we recognize not just those who have given their lives in war, but all those who have worn the uniform of service. This day, above all, is an opportunity to celebrate the choice one makes to serve their country. For some, it meant the worldwide conflicts of World War II, for a lifetime of peacekeeping missions, a standoff of the Cold War, others in the jungles of Vietnam or in Korea, Panama, and other conflicts in which we have asked our military to serve over the years. And of course, we can't forget that today, for many, service means multiple tours to Iraq and Afghanistan. On active duty or as reservists, guardsmen who sacrifice twice when they give up their civilian jobs in order to serve their country. We recognize, excuse me, that all veterans have given something of themselves to this country, and some have given all, laying down their lives to defend the freedoms that we hold so dear. May we be always humbly grateful to those brave American patriots who suffered and sacrificed for the glory of God and for the freedom of all Americans. And for all veterans, regardless of their service and the era in which they served, they have paid the price time and time again. They have defended America through both the best and the worst of times, and they have performed their duties tirelessly with little recognition or fanfare. It was merely a simple love of America and the freedoms we all cherish so much. And today, our United States military is second to none. We have the most advanced technology, warships, submarines, aircraft in the world. But the best equipment means little if you don't have the hardworking, highly trained, and dedicated workforce to bring those platforms to life. We see our soldiers serving in over 100 countries throughout the world, and the legacy of our veterans continue to inspire our American soldiers today to answer the call of duty. Thankfully, our nation has always been blessed to have strong men and women with exceptional courage, patriots willing and able to stand in the gap and defend America whenever our liberty is threatened. For over 240 years, the men and women of our nation have stepped forward to serve in our armed forces and defend our freedoms. Just look what happened after 9/11. We thought that recruiting and retention numbers would drop drastically, but they didn't. They grew. Our country, our liberty was challenged, so they answered the call. America is the country that excuse me, she is because of her heroes, past and present. People who put the nation's interest above self-interest, who put patriotism above profit, and who put the love of country above love of self. Our veterans made the conscious choice to live a life of sacrifice and service for the greater cause and for America. And these veterans come from all across America representing diversity and the character of our great nation, and our military is stronger for it. They're leaders and volunteers inside and outside the service. They're role models for all our citizens. They want to achieve and they want to win. Their fighting spirit is the backbone of our great nation. They exemplify the highest standards of service at home and abroad and in combat in times of peace. And I just want to say that there's an old saying that veterans never die. They just show up and serve somewhere else. And I want to share an example that epitomizes that. I was stationed in New York City with the National Guard on 9/11. You could imagine how hectic that day was as we were mobilizing forces to ground zero. I got a call from our security guards saying that they were having an issue with someone who demanded to enter the building and wouldn't leave. So I went downstairs and I saw a few people, but nobody looked threatening. The security guard pointed to an elderly gentleman who wore a World War II hat and a web belt. And I asked the gentleman if I could help him, and he said, "No, I'm here to help you. We are attacked and we must defend our country." And I lost the fight. I couldn't get rid of him. And so we actually brought him in and he helped. And I just want to add too that a lot of veterans from different eras on that day showed up and demanded to provide service to help us in a time of need. It was very, very, very moving. The same spirit is actually here in Dutchess County as well, where I've seen our veterans continuing to serve their community. And I would like to cite a few of these individuals who I know that happen to work at Marist. Of course, as President Murray mentioned with Tommy Zerhound, with the Walk Across America, bringing awareness to the veteran suicides in the country was significant. And Tom also assists in several other initiatives that support veterans in need. Ryan Coons also has continued public service in local government, and he too supports local veteran groups. And finally, Dave Rogers, Sergeant Major Rogers, from your ROTC program, also demonstrates selfless service as he continues to be a leader in a number of military organizations. And I am sure there are just other veterans here at Marist as well that are doing the same. I just happen to know these gentlemen. In celebrating Veterans Day, excuse me, we must also recognize the families of those who serve. They also sacrifice so much for our nation: mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, wives and husbands, daughters and sons, close friends and loved ones. When our military members deploy abroad, they leave behind their families who, in their absence, soldier on to continue life as normal, but we know it's anything but normal. Across the many distant miles that separate them over the weeks and months that divide them, those who are deployed abroad are always in our thoughts and our prayers. Those who stay behind carry the concerns and the worries and the fears that their loved ones might go in harm's way. So as we thank those who serve, let us also remember our heroes on the home front. Our nation's military forces simply could not carry out their duties without the critical support of their families and loved ones. Those of us who serve are grateful for patriots like you who support our families when we are deployed, who help make us what we are today, the world's greatest force for stability and peace on the face of the earth. And no one should ever doubt that a strong U.S. military will continue to stand the global watch for generations to come, as the legacy and lessons of previous wars are passed on to our children and our children's children, who will also stand the watch to continue to fight against oppression, injustice, and against those who seek to take our freedom. And in times like this, there's always opportunities to honor service members. Many times people will ask about that. What can they do? And, there are a couple of ways. Some suggestions I've always given to people have been, first to volunteer to help a veteran or a service member regardless of whether you are a veteran or not. We have many wounded veterans in our world who need your compassion and your support. Find a way to help them, whether through the Veterans Affairs offices or state or county government outreach programs. Given that we as a nation are still deployed today, there are many families and communities all over the country who could use a helping hand. And for many of those on deployment, knowing that their families are receiving support while they are serving in the armed forces can bring reassurance and much needed peace of mind. And there's dozens of ways you can show your support to our nation's heroes. Second, making an effort to promote military service for our youth. We need to do a better job of letting our younger generation know that the military is a rewarding career option, as well as a call to national service. And it was right about here, I had a quote from General George Washington that President Murray so eloquently stated. So it's the same thing. The future looks to our veterans to get an idea of how the nation treats them, how they are, you know, what they represent, and they provide the perfect role models for the future. If you are a veteran, please share your story with others. Let everyone know that you've done what you've done so they can see the many faces of military service and appreciate the personal service of their neighbors. If you are not a veteran, find someone in your life who is a vet and ask them about their service or simply say thank you. The more we talk about what we do and the impact military service has on our lives, it gives a great example of patriotic service to everybody. We have many, many examples of that kind of courage today. So let's use this opportunity now and on Veterans Day in years to come to celebrate service to our nation, to demonstrate the appreciation we have for our military and to inspire future generations to dedicate themselves in the name of many who have come before them. And now is not the time to, now is the time to not only honor those who have served, but it is also the time for each of us to take part in protecting it. The defense of freedom is not just for those in the military. Each of us shares that duty and that responsibility. We don't have to join the Army or the Navy or any other defense organization to actively defend our way of life. We can protect our freedom simply by maintaining it here in America. If we want to preserve our freedoms, we must put them into action. For example, by voting in the elections or speaking out against injustices. We must also ensure that everyone feels the benefits of freedom. And we can do that by volunteering in our communities or teaching our children what it really means to be an American. Veterans Day isn't just a day for veterans, it's a day for all Americans. It's a day to remember why they were fighting and a day for all of us to protect our freedom today and in future generations. And I would just like to close with this one quote. It's from Father Dennis Everett O'Brien from the United States Marine Corps, who said, "It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us the freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the organizer, who gave us the freedom to demonstrate. And it is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag." So for all those veterans on the call today, thank you for your service and your sacrifice. For all those not in the military, thank you for choosing to share this special day with us and showing your support for our heroes, past and present. So with that, God bless and thank you very much.
Thank you, Ferg. And I like to reiterate what you said, how veterans should share their stories. I know we here at Marist, we have been trying to, keep track of which of our alumni are veterans. We clearly know if they come to Marist as active military or veteran, that gets logged into our system. But for those who have already left Marist, came here years ago, maybe we weren't keeping track at the time. So I want to keep track now, have a good list going, but please, if you are a veteran or if you know of a classmate who's a veteran, make sure we know that. So so when we are doing events or we just want to reach out to them, we have their information. So it's just when they're telling their story, yeah, if you're a Marist person, please let us know. But thank you very much. I haven't had necessarily any questions come in specifically. But I did want to let everyone know, if you were unable to watch the live stream of our campus flag raising earlier today by ROTC and the Pledge of Allegiance by Professor Tommy Zerhalen, who both you and President Murray mentioned today. Hopefully Tommy was able to log in. We did upload that video to our Marist Alumni Facebook page, and we will, if it's not there already, we will put it on the Marist Alumni YouTube channel as well. So I can provide that in the chat box in a minute, but I did want to let everyone know. So we did record that this morning. Also, a recording of this presentation today will also be available within the next couple of days on the Marist Alumni YouTube channel. So if you did log in late today, or you know someone who missed it, it will be available for viewing after. So President Murray, unless you have anything else to offer, I'm good for today.
Amy, thank you again. Thanks to you and everyone who put this together. Evan, Ferg, thank you for great remarks. But we saw a real leader in Ferg giving us the address today, and in Evan, a future leader. So I'm proud to be serving as president of Marist because of the great work that our alumni do in so many different fields, but on today, particularly in the military. So thanks a lot, Amy, and thanks to everyone for being with us.